Redshift here, doing my part to shift perceptions out of the pink and into the red. Okay, so if you are fundamentally wrong about power, then you're fundamentally wrong about almost everything that's important, because power is everything that's important. And if you think that that is a statement that, is anti-moral, then you yourself are probably an immoral person or unwise, because power includes morality. You know what I mean? Like, cohesiveness depends on morality, and and cohesiveness is power. So, power is partially morality. Like real power is moral. You know what I mean? And this is just a fact. The greatest power is wisdom, and wisdom includes morality. And on an individual level, morality is a prerequisite to attaining wisdom. Morality is a prerequisite to attaining concentration, and concentration is a prerequisite to attaining wisdom. And so, morality is a prerequisite to wisdom. And on a societal level, wisdom is super important. And it's power. Morality is power because wisdom is power. And this is important to understand. So, but I'm getting a little bit off on a tangent. But my main point was that, like, morality, not about morality. It was not a main point about morality so much as it's a point about power, right? Like, MGTOW is fundamentally wrong about power. And this is because MGTOW acts like any kind of advocation for self-sacrifice or not even like your life, but like sacrificing time, money, effort, etc. to build something that will make your kids' lives better and will make your kids have more power in terms of IQ and memory and stuff so that they can make more money and then have kids that are even better than their kids. Than they were. Their kids will be even better than they were. And then they can make even more money, and then you can get really technologically advanced, amass a lot of wealth, and eventually not take the government on per se, but like control the government, like become immune from the government, separate from the government, infiltrate the government, code the government out of existence, etc. Right? Like you can do this if your IQ is high enough. If you have like a commune or something filled with tons of people with tons of high IQs, because of all the men having half their kids by sperm bank sperm. Half the kids they have with their wife are by sperm bank sperm. That is not his sperm, but he raises the kid. And half the kids are by his sperm. So this creates, high IQ kids that other men are having, that are not those men's kids, but those men are raising those kids. Those kids born from sperm bank sperm will marry your kids, so your grandkids will have higher IQs, and the kids that you raised by sperm bank sperm that are not genetically yours, you will marry those off to another guy's biological kids that are his kids, and then his grandkids get to have higher IQs. Do that generation after generation after generation, and it makes it so that your kids, your commune eventually has incredibly high IQs, and then incredibly wealthy, and then incredibly technologically advanced, and then you can code the government out of existence, have more influence over the government because of your wealth. The government will give you all kinds of advantages like tax-exempt status because of, declaring yourself a religion, just like Scientology eventually got, etc., etc., etc. You see? So MGTOW's whole statement, MGTOW will throw this whole, like, you're promoting male devaluation thing at you if you promote anything that has to do with, sacrifice and long-term advantage and stuff. Like, real power is not just your life, like making more money and being free yourself. That's not power. Real power is dynastic power. Power that lasts generation after generation after generation after generation after generation. The government has power because it has lasted for 200 years. And even through a collapse, it might continue to exist, right? In some new form, perhaps, or whatever, but it'll still probably continue to exist. So I'm not saying you can't, form your own country or, change the government so it's better or whatever, but, it will probably continue to exist. So you should either form your own country and become immune from the government by amassing wealth and intelligence and technology, or whatever, but you can't let the government stay as tyrannical as it is or anything, but it will exist in some form, probably, at least for all the idiots. You know what I mean? Like, separate from them so it doesn't rule you, so you can form your own country, your own ANCAP country. But my main point was that, like, MGTOW is fundamentally wrong because it's fundamental for many reasons, but one of them is MGTOW is fundamentally wrong about power, because MGTOW does not seem to understand the principle that true power takes a long time to amass and lasts a long time. And it also doesn't seem to understand how you amass that power. How you amass that power is by following the principle that the Chinese used to become the world hegemon, which they essentially are. They're guaranteed soon to become the world hegemon. It's already a guarantee because of their massive amassment of gold. They are guaranteed to become the new world hegemon. Them, possibly also Russia, possibly also Israel, right? Like, that might be the triumvirate. And maybe India too, although I kind of doubt it because they have so many low IQ people in their country. But yeah, like the principle that China used to take over the world was the invest in loss principle. Invest in loss. What is that if not another way of saying sacrifice, short-term pleasure, happiness, money, effort, comfort, etc. for long-term gain? That is what that means. And if you are able to invest in loss, that means you're able to sacrifice. Because sacrifice and invest in loss are the same thing. So if you're able to invest in loss, you are able to accrue massive power over 20, 40, 60 years. You meaning like your country or your family, your grandkids and your great-grandkids will be much more powerful than you were because of your sacrifice, etc. This is important to understand, and MGTOW doesn't seem to understand the importance of sacrifice to gaining power. And what else is important other than power? MGTOW acts like it's about power in a sense by becoming free and prosperous and blah blah, but it's really not about power. Because you're ending your own genetic line, you're not making your country stronger, you're not making your race stronger, you're not forging connections with other men you can live with in a community where you're all willing to die for each other, and therefore you have massive strength, massive happiness, massive moral strength, because to get along with other people and live in a commune you have to have high morals, etc. So MGTOW is fundamentally, it's acting like it's about power, but it's not about true power, because it doesn't understand this whole invest in loss principle. And if you're fundamentally wrong about power, you're fundamentally wrong about everything that's important. And so MGTOW needs to get its act together, needs to wake up, and needs to realize that power is all that matters. Power includes morality. Power includes cohesiveness. Power includes eugenics. Not like forcibly sterilizing people or killing people, but eugenics in the sense of, doing things that are eugenic. Like having kids voluntarily that are not yours and raising those kids so that, you can marry those kids off to another man's biological kids, and his kids that he raised that are not his, that have high IQs, can marry your kids. So everybody can have grandkids that are really high IQ. This is super important, super, super important. It's really, honestly, without revolutionary or civil war, which includes massive death. And what is that if not massive male devaluation? Mass death is mass male devaluation. Because as TFM says, it'll be the men who die, not the women. The women won't fight, and the women have pussies, so they're not going to have collateral damage because men view them as treasure. Women throughout all of human history have been treasure. Spoils of war. You get sex if you overthrow this tribe, you kill this other tribe, kill all the men. Well, then you, the lower class men of this conquering tribe, get women. Whereas maybe before you didn't get a woman because all the top men in your country are hogging all the women, right? But maybe they had 2 or 3 wives each, but now you get a wife because your country conquered and killed all the men of this other country or race. So now you get one of their women for your own. So now you get a woman. See, women have always been spoils of war. Sex is something you always had to fight for. So, women are not going to be killed in the new civil or revolutionary war. Just a shitload of men will be killed. And if men don't want to fight a new revolutionary civil war, then the tyranny will just grow absolutely insanely huge. So what are your options other than, forming a commune and using sperm bank sperm for half your kids? Have like 6 kids. 3 of them are biologically yours. 3 of them are your wife's with sperm bank sperm, but you raise the kids. Other than that, what other peaceful alternative is there to overthrow the government? What other path forward is there that's eugenic enough that doesn't result in, mass extinction for you and your commune because, like the Amish, you've been, relegated to such, irrelevance because of your average IQs and because you weren't doing eugenics. You know what I mean? Like, eugenic communes are the only path forward without mass death. So really, this is a way less male devaluing form of progress than MGTOW. Like MGTOW acts like it's about lack of against male devaluation, against gynocentrism, against powerlessness, etc. But really, it's in favor of all those things because being under government tyranny increasingly because of the NSA's growth and locking down the internet so that you can't do anything on the internet without it being surveilled, without it being something that the government approves of, etc. Like, living in a society like that, that's not power, that's powerlessness. And not being able to pass on your genes, that's powerlessness. Like, so, the only way forward is to invest in loss and do so with eugenic communes. This is the only way forward that I can think of. And I would love to hear some other way forward, but I really just don't think there is another way forward. And yes, some people have said, and I myself said, perhaps this will happen in terms of like, the incel population gets bigger, they become a huge, huge voting bloc. Some dictator or some president gets elected saying, I will change the incel problem, I will fix it no matter what. And then he gets elected because of that. Maybe some new political party is formed, on the basis with the one goal of like fixing the incel problem. Like, I think it was Blue Monday or whatever. Somebody said something like that, and I repeated it once in one of my videos. But I really I don't think, like, I presented that as like a possibility, but like I'm really not thinking that will actually happen. I don't think you can get change through the voting process, whether it's from incels becoming huge and becoming a huge voting bloc and changing things, voting for some radical politician, even more radical than Trump. I don't think that's a way forward. Voting is already basically totally impotent, totally useless, totally subverted. Like, we use electronic voting machines, for God's sake. That alone is proof that it's totally subverted. One guy who wrote the code for those things in before the 2000 election said in front of like, the state senate or whatever it was, or some kind of inquiry or whatever. I don't remember all the stupid names government gives for all its processes. It's fucking ridiculous. Those names are so dry, I can't even remember them. And there's so many of those type of terms. Like, who could remember all that shit? You know what I mean? So I never even know what to call that shit. But like, there's video of the guy testifying, like under oath or whatever, that like he wrote code allowing them to change the votes from, like remotely from a centralized location or whatever. Like, the government can change the votes that you vote. You can vote for something and the government can change your vote, can flip it to 51-49 the other way, because that code is written. That those voting machines have backdoor code in them that allows them to change the vote. So I do not see voting as being any kind of way forward or any kind of way of changing things in the future. I really don't. I think voting is, if you put your hopes on voting for changing things for the better in the future, I think you are a fucking idiot. You're a moron. Either that or you're just super ignorant about, the backdoors and the voting machines and how the demographics are changing, and it's going to make us a liberal country, or we're a one-party country, we're a liberal country. And yeah, you got to realize the truth. You know what I mean? Like, voting is not the way forward, and MGTOW is not the way forward, because it's evolutionary evolution. It's an evolutionary dead end. It really, really is. Now, maybe that's a good thing, actually, because then all the men who don't have the courage to fight, don't have the cohesiveness to fight, don't have the benevolence to fight to make a better world, these guys all get taken out of the gene pool. Right? So maybe it is a good thing that MGTOW exists. Take all those guys who don't have any benevolence out of the gene pool, don't have any long-term vision. Take those guys out of the gene pool. So, maybe MGTOW is a very good thing in that sense. I mean, I'm not trying to, like, subversively insult MGTOW here, but, like, genuinely, I thought about it, and it occurred to me that, yeah, MGTOW probably is a good thing. It's that it is an evolutionary dead end is a good thing, because it gets all the bad genes out of the populace. Because we need whites to be more pro-white. We need men to be more pro-men and want to breed. We need men to be more pro-breeding in general. We need men to be more long-sighted than just their own lifetime. We need men to be thinking in terms of, 20 generations, 50 generations, etc., but at least thinking in terms of like 3, 4, 5, 6 generations. If men are not thinking at least that far ahead, they're totally worthless. Get those genes out of the populace. So that's what I had to say about that. This has been Redshift. Hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. Hit the thumbs down button if you didn't. Peace, trucks.